Hi, this is Daniel. I'm a product manager in the orchestration group here at GitLab, part of the configure stage. And today I'd like to talk about the kickoff for the release 12.8 that will be shipping in February 22nd. So let's get started. The first thing and some of the things that you will see here got started as part of 12.7. And because we had the holidays, it was kind of a short release for us. And we're going to work to get some of those items across the finish line. So the first thing that we're going to do is show you the namespace for your deployment on the deployments page. So basically right now on the jobs page, we show you the environment and the cluster that your job was deployed to, but we don't show you the namespace. And for example, if you're using a cluster that is not being managed by GitLab, so it's not creating kind of those namespaces with the conventions that we follow, figuring out which namespace your job was deployed to is kind of a chore. You have to go to the command line and figure out where that was deployed to. So we're going to make it easy for you. And right there on the jobs page, we're going to show you the environment, the cluster, and the namespace that your job was deployed to. So kind of minimal feature that brings a ton of value. All right, let's move along. The second item that we're going to work in is going to be readiness for Kubernetes 1.16. And as you may know, some of the endpoints on the API are being removed after being deprecated for some time. So it's going to be kind of a twofold approach here. The first one is migrating ingress, and the second one is migrating deployments. So we want to make sure that all of our cool features like auto DevOps continue to work with 1.6 without interruption. All right, the next thing, so this is what I just talked about updating deployments to use apps v1. That's the new endpoint. And that's just so we make sure that things continue to work. So let's move along. The next one that I wanted to talk about is the CI templates for GitLab managed apps. So as you know, we are kind of moving into a place where GitLab CI will do all the management for installation, upgrading, and removing your GitLab managed apps. Right now, it's kind of hard-coded by the Rails backend, and we're moving to a place where CI will do it. So we have a couple of templates out there that you can get started with today, namely Ingress and Sentry are out there. But we want to work to make sure that all the apps that we offer today have a matching template that you can use for CI. So you can simply kind of flip a switch on your config.yaml file, and the pipeline that will trigger will go ahead and install that app on your cluster. So we're going to work to make sure that the templates that you see here are going to be available in CI. All right, the next one is kind of a quick UX win here. As you know, when you create a cluster currently in one of the clouds that we have integrations with, like AWS or Google, once you select your provider, let's say if I select AWS, there's really no way to switch providers if I wanted to select Google instead. I kind of have to start over the whole process. So we're going to kind of do a minimal change here, and we're going to leave the provider selection on that page as you fill out that form. So in case you want to switch, you can just go ahead and switch. So that is the next thing. And let's see, moving right on, we're going to keep working on allowing the selection of networks and subnetworks when you create a GKE cluster in GitLab. So as you know, when you create that cluster in GKE, you have this field here in networking where you can select the network and the subnet that your cluster will belong to. And that's kind of if you want to use resources in an optimal way and have them communicate in that subnet, this is what you want to do. And we want to give you that same flexibility when you create a cluster in GitLab. So we're going to go ahead and add that to the cluster creation form. Moving right along, going back to clusters being managed by GitLab CI instead of hard-coded as we have today. Right now, if I want that to happen, I have to specify my cluster management project here. So it's kind of a drop-down, and I can search for my projects, and I have to specify kind of which one is the one that holds all of those templates. So to minimize the work that you have to do as you manage clusters, and as we move towards transitioning to this method to be the only method that we offer, we want to create that project automatically for you. So what will happen is when you create your cluster, we will create that project automatically for you and provision it with all the necessary templates so you can kind of get up and running quickly if you want to manage your apps from that project. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is also adding another managed app, and this is going to be in this new CI paradigm where we add the CI template and the CI job will install it, and that is for chaos engineering. So we're going to use an open source product called Litmus Chaos, and it's a very cool product, and it works in a very Kubernetes native way. So talking to the Kubernetes API and using Kubernetes primitives, you have a set of experiments that you can run for chaos engineering that kind of work out of the box. You have to configure a couple of configuration points and you can get started. It's quite easy and very cool. So we look forward to telling you more about this and putting that template out there and having you get started with chaos engineering. And then the next thing that we're going to work on are a couple of bugs, specifically for auto DevOps and on a couple of instances where the ingress doesn't work on a particular instance and the test job fails on a particular instance. So we're going to go ahead and address those bugs. As far as discovery work goes, as part of this iteration, we hope to get started with the product discovery for running auto DevOps on air-gapped networks. So auto DevOps, as you know, is a great way to get started with modern DevOps practices. However, auto DevOps relies on a lot of external dependencies to GitLab. And what we want to do for our self-managed customers, for example, who are running on a highly secured environment that's air-gapped, to have that same ability to maybe specify where those dependencies will lie, and then we go look for those there instead of going out to the internet. So we're going to start the process as part of 12.8. And then finally, you see that we have included all the design work items that we're going to tackle in the next release as part of this. So we're not only are including the engineering work, but also the design work. And the main thing that we're doing here is that we are exploring how the future of GitLab managed apps will look like. And basically what that means is as the number of applications increases, the mechanisms that we're using today, we want to change them to make sure that they scale well and that they provide a great experience. So to that end, we're going to have basically a redesigned, and we're going to split the cluster management page into sections, and that will hopefully provide a better experience. And not only that, but it will scale further, and it will kind of take us into the future of managing those apps in cluster. So that's it for 12.8. We're very excited to get all the stuff that's currently in flight across the finish line and then tackle some of the new challenges. As always, we love to hear from you, so feedback is very welcome. And we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.